Hello, and welcome to another edition of Living Simply and Fun. We will be smoking this acid blue label, Blondie. I believe that the blue labels are all essentially infused with the exact same thing as our beloved Cuba Cuba. So, we're going to go ahead and give this a try. This is a Connecticut shade wrapper with Nicaraguan long fillers and binder. And I don't know where Rita's going off to. But we have tried the various other blue labels, and they all seem to have the same taste, pretty much. I don't know what the differences are.
I guess he took the tins home.
The tins for what?
These.
No, these didn't come in a tin.
Oh, they didn't?
No, that's the Acid Crushes.
Oh.
Which is also a blue label and has a very surprisingly similar flavor. So, without further ado, we'll give this a sniff test and then a light. It smells like a typical blue label.
Oh, yeah. The dry hit was perfect.
Kind of mildly soapy, but sweet.
Sweet,
with
yes, definitely.
With some hay hints behind that kind of soapiness.
I say earthy hay scent, but still, it's a really good, tasty.
Dry hit doesn't really show much, but you definitely get sugar off the ends, which is perhaps sprayed on, but I know that one thing that Acid prides themselves on is drying their tobaccos with oils and everything else in the drying areas, so a lot of this is just picked up from being in the room. Well, with that said, we are going to get into smoking this.
I want to make a statement. First of all, thanks to Johnny Stix for this wonderful cigar. We enjoy reviewing for you. Next, I wanted to say about this particular cigar, or the Cuba Cuba line. I don't know if Aaron would recommend it or say anything, but I was telling my Aunt Aya that I highly recommend these cigars to start out with for women.
Well, they're a nice one to start out with for anybody because they're not, well, they're sweet.
However, as I've been told, and I will agree with this statement, acid is hit and miss when it comes to cigar smokers, whether you like them or don't like them,
A lot of people out there have this conception that infused cigars are not cigars. And I kind of understand that in the fact that the infused cigar market, it almost feels like it's angled towards children, which it's not. It's angled towards somebody who just wants, flavor. So some just say, well, it doesn't have the tobacco flavors in it. It's one thing to look for when you are smoking these is what tobacco flavors there are underlying behind the infusions. Another thing that I didn't like about acid, story from my past. I used to go to this place. It was a head shop in Cleveland, Ohio called Daystar Boutique. They had all sorts of cool clothes, and they had good music selection there. They had some decent vinyls before vinyls became popular again. They had some interesting cigarettes there. It was one of the first places.
It was an eclectic shop.
It's one of the first places you could find American Spirit and Nat Sherman cigarettes for sale. But in the back, they had all their pipes and their bongs and everything else that you'd get for smoking marijuana, paraphernalia, etc. It was the first place I'd ever seen acid cigars come up, and they had them in the same case with 420 coffee. And so to me, it was just right off the bat, it kind of seemed like a gimmicky, angled at stoner's cigar.
When I first started smoking cigars over 10 years ago, there's a place called the Tinderbox in Linwood, Washington, and they had them in there. I'd go in the humidor, I'd look, and I'd be like, what are those? They were only like $3 a stick at the time.
They also had Helixes there, and I kind of got the feeling the Helix was also kind of aimed more towards that generation. Now, it took up until about a year and a half ago when I actually decided to try a Cuba Cuba that I fell in love with through Estates Infused Cigars. And now I'm willing to smoke them, and there's quite a few I want to try someday.
I want to try the deep dish. It looks pretty cool.
That is essentially a blue label, so it will have a very similar flavor to this.
And I want to try the Opulence 3.
And I also want to try the infused tea.
I want to try the 1400cc.
Yeah, and I want to try the nasty, which is chocolate.
I wanted to try the ordinary Larry, too.
Extraordinary Larry, which I believe is another blue label, but I'm not certain of that one.
They got that Fusion like C one too. That seems interesting.
Anyways, these are very nice little cigars, and that there is some tobacco taste in there. It's kind of a hayish taste, but it's got covered up from that sweetness on the tip, which does wear off during these. And so it will not stay there forever and be super candy.
I will tell you what I think is funny is, one time, talking about acid cigars, we went into this place, and I was buying these two expensive Monte Cristos from the guy. He charged me like $56 two with tax, because sales tax is high in the state. But anyways, Aaron picked up some acid Cuba Maduro Gordos, which were like 6x60s. I enjoyed that so much, I was like, I want more.
Oh yeah. And also, one of her first cigars was an infused, because it is a good way to kind of experience a cigar for your first time without being
my first cigar all the time.
Your first cigar,
was a Cohiba.
No, your first cigar was a Baccarat. We smoked it while walking around town the day that we went to the cigar shop. You had the Cohiba later that night on the back porch, and it almost made you turn green right away, but you liked it.
But the Baccarats, I can buy the Kings,
and the Baccarats are fairly cheap and have a very nice flavor.
$70 a box. They're very good.
For those who are familiar with the Baccarat, the sweetness off the back of this Blondie is very similar to the sweetness that you get off the back of a Baccarat in flavor. It's rather candy coated. I know there's a Nat Sherman infused out there, and I'd like to try it someday, but I have not tried it yet. But anyways, do you have anything to say about the tobaccos or the flavors?
I already said, it's just a really good cigar. It's a miniature Cuba. I love acid cigars. I do think their boxes are just a little high for buying a box of them, but that you got to pay the premium.
Especially since some of them are no bigger than this anyways. And this is a 4x38, and the typical Corona is usually 5x38. So they even cut off an inch on this. The Nasty, I think, has a very similar proportion, and even taper. It's conical, so the only place that's got the ring gauge is the beginning of the cigar, and then it starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to the end. It's rolled like a spliff, for those who know the term.
Well, we made this video, part 1, pretty long, so we will see you in the next section. Stay tuned.
Hello, and welcome back to the halfway point of this Acid Blondie, which, for some cigars, this would be the final third, too. So far, the flavor, the sweet flavor is just beginning to wear off.
Taper off, yeah, I agree completely with that.
Just beginning to. Still getting some of that sweetness.
Now I'm getting more tobacco taste than sweetness. And
tobacco flavors are kind of leathery, slightly nutty. Overall, what you'd expect from a typical Connecticut at this point. Very flavorful little number. Let's see.
I was telling Aaron, talking about the size of these cigars, that I was thinking of picking up for my trip with Aaron, since I canceled my Miami trip to go somewhere else, outside of Detroit, to pick up some obsidian, little obsidian tins.
Yeah, those are kind of nice little 1-hour smokes. They're fairly affordable, too. They are on the somewhat stronger side in body, but again, they're an AJ Fernandez offering, so
Yeah, and I
we know
don't
what
mind
to expect from
AJ's.
them
I mean,
already.
AJ Fernandez did a good job, in my opinion, doing the nickel. Or no, that was Placentia. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to try the Fat Camp sampler in the Fernandez offerings.
Oh yeah, that's how I
very
knew that
good.
the La Perla was, because the La Perla is part of the AJ Fernandez Fat Camp.
Yeah, and they get another Man of War that I haven't tried, so I'd love to try that.
But-
for them.
AJ Fernandez is a much fuller flavored, full-bodied cigar, and I think they do a good job of blending.
So does Drew Estate and these little cigars here.
This has a very nice marriage of flavors, and you know, that's maybe one of the most important things in a cigar. Not so much what flavors you're getting. You can end up with nut and leather, which is very common flavors, and they can conflict with each other. And you could be like, I'm picking up nut, I'm picking up leather, I'm picking up nut. They don't really go together. But then you can end up with one where they're married so well together that you have to really focus on them. And it could be like, yeah, I'm getting something kind of nutty
It's like
and leathery, but they're intertwined to the point that they're hard to detect.
Well, like Aaron was saying, yeah, cigars are like that. And, for example, we had a guy who asked a question a long time ago about the La Differencia Cubana, and that was a raspberry-infused cigar. That was just...
And it wasn't infused.
I mean, it just tasted like it. Sorry, it wasn't infused.
It just had kind of a strawberries and cream flavor. It's like the M1 Cusano, the carrot bomb. There is no infusion there. And we will have to review that on our channel eventually.
We'll do it next month when we have more money.
We absolutely love that carrot bomb. And next month we are going to be going by that place because I got to go to the doctor's appointment out there. And when I go, I'm going to be walking past. I'm going to get me some carrot bombs.
I might look into it. And I know Aaron's friend Josh watches this channel, so hi, Josh. His childhood friend. I'm thinking of picking up next month because we're going to try to schedule his doctor's appointment a day after my therapist appointment, and I want to get some brick houses.
Yeah, we haven't actually reviewed those live either. I think we may have gotten one live, but I'm not sure of that either. It's very confusing because some of you who have not known us in the past, I used to have my own separate channel. And I had probably close to 150 cigar reviews. And I was getting tormented by about 5 or 6 different people who were constantly making comments to me. And I tried to ban them, and they'd start new accounts and start back up. And I said, screw it, I'm done. Nobody's really watching my videos except for these people who decide that they're going to belittle me, and I wasn't going to stand for it. But Rita got me back into doing videos.
With Desert Smoke.
With Desert Smoke, because Desert Smoke Reviews sent us some cigars to review. And we felt obligated to review them, so we ended up doing a review on this channel. And it kind of just went from there. And
It was originally, for some of you out there, since we're enjoying the cigar, and apparently from what we understand from Johnny Stix, he likes long videos, so eventually, well, first we were just going to do like everyday stuff, like how to do this, how to afford better things.
You talk about how to afford cigars when you
No, I mean, just everyday thing. We used to, if you look on our channel, we also had videos of us at the park, you know, doing a barbecue and stuff.
Oh, well,
so,
I still do cooking videos too, and we still will do some wine reviews and some video game reviews, but it's been all cigars lately. And that's because we're really enjoying the cigars.
yes.
So, and this has really become more of a cigar channel. I think over half our videos are cigar related, I believe. We had some old videos that were just updates, and that was back when Rita was trying to get me to do a daily video with her, whether I wanted to or not.
Well, I do daily videos on my channel, yet lately, since I don't have the subscribers, or I mean, I have the subscribers, I just don't have the views. I just said, hell with it, you know, they'll get a video when I'm in the mood.
And this is only going to be a 2-part video, because I'm really getting down into the final third of this, so is Rita. And the flavors are kind of maintaining at this point. Maybe a pickup in body in the tobaccos, with a huge drop-off in the sweetness. Still kind of nutty-ish, leatherish. but the two flavors are, complementing each other to the point that it's a nice little fusion. What was it I was telling you the other day? I forgot which cigar it was, but I said that there's like a maelstrom of flavor going on in here, and it's a bombardment to the senses because they didn't marry very well. I think it might have been the Gurkha Centurion, but anyways, I like that on occasion too, because then almost every puff is different, and you pick up something different, and so it keeps you interested. There's a difference between chaotic and smooth smokes, and this is a smooth one. And that's something we don't really talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree completely, with it, like I said, acid is hit and miss. A lot of people say, oh, well, we don't like flavored cigars, or it's not a flavored cigar, but it is. And so, in my opinion, if you haven't tried any acid cigars, feel free to try them out. As you know, I want to try other cigars, so I'm hoping that eventually I get to try other cigars, and that's going to be really cool.
One thing I could say about infused cigars is there is a lot of talk, and there has been for years, about government regulations on cigars and minimum prices for premiums and the inability to possibly get them depending on what areas you're in, because you might have to go to brick and mortar and no more mail order. If anything were to end up destroying the cigar industry, it's actually infused cigars. And one of the things that Drew Estate says right on most of their cigars is the rebirth of cigars. And in some ways, Drew Estate's infused cigars, which really kind of kicked off an infused boom. The Baccarat was around before, but it's these cigars that are maybe among the most likely to actually be the death of cigars, not the rebirth. Yeah, they're a nice little cute flavor for some of the infused, and most people love the non-infused Drew Estates, but it's the flavored cigars that they'll say are attracting kids and minors and children, and that children will get a hold of their parents' credit cards and buy themselves acid cigars so that they can smoke a beautifully infused cigar and feel cool, and that's where they're going to say, sorry, we're drawing a line, and you can't do mail-order cigars anymore. Our state already doesn't allow mail-order pipe tobacco
Or
because,
cigarette tobacco.
well, they don't allow mail-order pipe tobacco anymore because what happened was the cigarette industry said, hey, this tax code makes things so much cheaper, and instead of paying $70-80 for a bag, you can pay $30 for a bag, so we'll use the pipe codes. So they started marketing under the pipe codes, but it was cigarette tobacco, and it was being sold to minors who were rolling their own cigarettes for a cheaper price, and they were ordering it online and stuff. At least that's what our state said. And so now we can't get premium pipe tobaccos. I'm sorry, but no kid goes and gets Dunhill or heck, even Smoker's Pride to roll into a cigarette.
Most of the places
They get
around
Largo
here,
or Gambler or Premium.
I've asked my cigar shop, Mike, over at Evergreen, to bring in some more tins. Until he does, I'm stuck buying and smoking stuff like this in my pipe. And yes, for some of you out there, just for your reference, including you, Johnny Stix, who I enjoy, doing reviews for, as well as everyone else here in the communities of cigar and pipe smoking, that I prefer the pipe more than the cigar, because you can get a nice collection of pipes, and you can always have a different pipe while smoking your tobacco.
She is a pipe connoisseur more than a cigar connoisseur. Cigars are more my thing, but pipes are more her thing. And I like having Briar around, and it's nice. In fact, I've worked with it off and on. I've still not yet even finished my first pipe because I'm trying to hand sand it and everything. But there's a total difference between the two. And what I was trying to say is no one will take a Dunhill pipe tobacco or even the Smoker's Pride. Would you let me finish? You interrupted last time. And no person is going to take this and roll it into a cigarette. In fact, I've taken pipe tobacco because I was in a pinch for a cigarette back when I smoked, and I rolled pipe tobacco. It is gross. It does not smoke like a cigarette. It smokes more like a cigar, and you can barely inhale that. So why we got punished for the cigarette companies trying to get a cheaper tax code doesn't make sense. And I'm just afraid that infused cigars are going to be the death of cigars in some ways. But yeah, they are legitimate cigars too.
Talking about cigars and pipe tobacco for a second before we sign off is the reason I enjoy smoking, besides having to put my pipes on hold, is because cigars are easy to get a hold of for reviewing, even though they're more money. Pipe tobacco, the only thing I'm getting is either Smoker's Pride
or Smoker's Pride.
Or no, or that other stuff that you bought. It comes in the little pouches, like the chocolate one.
Oh yeah,
that
I don't even know who makes that. The other thing too is machine made is another possibility to kill the market. Not like the Low Aurora Princep that we had. You never find those in gas stations, but things like Black and Milds or Cherry Middletons or Swisher Sweets Perfectos,
wait a minute.
AYC Grenadiers.
Yeah, the Grenadiers. We tried the glass tubo. Remember once when we were at that Shell station, Soap Lake?
That was actually pretty decent though. But
it was like $4 a stick in a glass.
That was out of a pinch, and so we ended up buying one there. It was the closest to a real cigar we could get. Cavatampas though, and I don't like the machine-made cigars because they're usually just kind of gross, but they are popular, particularly around here. I'm always seeing underage kids walking around with a Black and Mild, and it's like, no, don't
burn my fingers. So
and FDA and government don't really seem to make too much of a difference, particularly those who don't smoke, and with the push for healthier America. Things like seeing kids with Black and Milds is more upsetting than sitting on your back porch and smoking a fine handmade.
Exactly. So anyways, are we done?
Yeah, sorry, this turned into a rant video as well as a cigar video.
Anyways, I better get my next project set up on fly fishing project I'm working on. So please add and subscribe. Please post comments, leave feedback, suggestions. Thank you. May God bless you in all you do. And enjoy every puff.